Well, our president, Bola Tinubu, has nominated non-career ambassadors for the United States, the United Kingdom, and France. The three nominees include Ayodele Okem, Colonel Lateef Are, retired, and Amin Dalhatu. A post by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, on X disclosed that the postings would be finalized following Senate screenings. Now, according to his statement, Dalhatu previously served as Nigeria's ambassador to South Korea under the late President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. Oke is an alumnus of Emory University in Atlanta and is a former Director General of the National Intelligence Agency and previously served as Nigeria's ambassador to the Secretariat of the Commonwealth of Nations in London. While Colonel Are, he was a Director General of the State Security Service and served as the National Security Advisor back in 2010 and was an officer in the Directorate of Military Intelligence. Well, we're now being joined here on Newsday by Professor Femi Otubanjo, a research professor at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, to discuss exactly how this move by President Tinubu can help to shape Nigeria's relations with other countries. Great to have you join me today. Thanks for joining me, Professor.
Thank you very much for asking me to come.
Well, it's taken a while for the president to appoint these ambassadors, but here we are. Three high-profile individuals, the profiles of which I just gave earlier. They possess strong intelligence and national security backgrounds. What does the focus of these nominees with such profiles, such strong intelligence and national security backgrounds, what does it tell us about the foreign policy priorities of this Tinubu administration and also the timing? As we know, it's 2 years delayed.
Well, it does not tell us much about focus. What it tells us is about admission of failure. I'm happy that the president, by this appointment, is telling Nigerians that we did not manage the American situation, the Trump situation very well. Because it's all about intelligence, about information. People mobilized, lobbied in the United States to get Nigeria to be classified as a country of particular concern. That was a process, a long process of lobbying, of information exchange. And it appeared that Nigeria did not manage it, did not respond. There was a failure of information management on the part of Nigeria. And so Nigeria needed to send this large delegation to the United States to try to tell the other side of the story. That is a side that should have been told regularly, consistently, daily by our embassy, by people in charge of our embassies around the world. And so what the president has done is good. He has brought in intelligence people, people who know how to manage information, people who know how to sieve information, people who know how to disseminate the right kind of information. Policy making is about information management. It is the information that you get that will determine your response. It's in the foreign policy analysis, they call it cybernetics model. It's the model of garbage in, garbage out. What we found out with this country of particular concern is that our information was undermanaged, if managed at all. And we did not respond. We have been at this CPC since 2009, that people have been agitating, all kinds of groups, Christian groups, and so on. We did not respond. If we responded at all, we did not respond adequately. What this appointment is telling us that we need to manage information, to push the pressure of information is important in international diplomacy, particularly in a country like the United States, where every group has a lobby. Greek farmers, traders, steel producers, they use lobbying. They process information effectively, relentlessly. And so we have these three experienced guys who have been in the intelligence services. And the president thinks that at this time of failure of information management, these are the kind of people that we need in the critical capitals of the world.
Very true.
Nigeria used to have about 5 or 6 key capitals, like including those days Moscow, Germany, the United Kingdom, the permanent representation in the UN, and so on.
Yeah.
He has only appointed 3. Hopefully, the others will be appointed.
Hopefully very soon. And honestly, that CPC designation really was a wake-up call, it seems, for the administration. And foreign relations-wise, it's almost like we were caught with our pants down as a nation when Donald Trump decided to, Donald Trump decided to enter headfirst into our matters, and we were scrambling to defend ourselves, so to speak. But with these nominees, they're classified as non-career ambassadors, although some, of course, like we said, have deep knowledge in diplomatic forays. What could be the advantages of the profiles of such individuals and the potential drawbacks of appointing non-career politically or security-aligned figures to these critical missions, knowing that the job sometimes requires a little bit more than just knowledge? It's also finesse on this international scale, dealing with personalities in foreign countries that might not be the same as what we're used to here.
Well, to be a former director of the National Intelligence Agency or a former national security advisor is the highest level of competence you can get. And don't forget that the NIA is an international arm of Nigeria's intelligence. So these are people who are knowledgeable about diplomacy and managing foreign relations. What you need most now is access. You need people who can talk to people who matter. It is not flying the flag. It is about getting into offices. And an ambassador has an advantage of access. There are things that you can request. An ambassador can request to see the Secretary of State, as opposed to a charge d'affaires, just a civil servant. It's just like compare the analogy of the permanent secretary and the minister. The permanent secretary can hardly request for an appointment with the president, but the minister automatically is expected to see the president periodically. So he has an advantage of access. And in policy making, particularly in complex societies, access is very important. You need to be able to know who to talk to, when to talk to, and what to say. And these civil servants really do not necessarily have that advantage. So when you talk about career and non-career, in most of the best capitals in the world, countries, even the United States, tend to send non-career ambassadors, because these are people of influence, of knowledge, of experience, and therefore have the ability to get access to the right people. Getting to the right people is what matters. It's not just going to the United States and saying, I have an ambassador there. The ambassador must know where to go and what to do. And I think that in appointing experienced, particularly men who have headed intelligence agencies, I don't think you can get any better equipped people more than that. So I believe that these are the right people to be appointed at this time, when obviously we had a calamitous failure of information. For what happened was a one-sided narrative about Nigeria that was not countered. It was only later that you began to run statistics. Oh, many more Muslims are killed. Nobody wants to listen to that. And it's not a newspaper thing. It's not a delegation matter. It's about access to the right people, to the Congress, to the State Department, to the White House, knowing who to talk to there, and even to important politicians, senators, and so on, congressmen. Identify them, talk to them, particularly those who are in the area of foreign relations. And this kind of men that we have now are the ones who are equipped to do it, not just a career civil servant.
Yeah. And with this staggered approach of appointing ambassadors with only 3 nominees sent initially, it suggests a deliberate, possibly resource-constrained process. What does this delay an appointment strategy signal about the state of Nigeria's foreign service and the broader diplomatic reform promised by the renewed Hope Agenda administration?
Well, some of the delay to me seems like a mystery to me. It's unusual. It's not 2 years of non-appointment is unusual, but that does not mean that it's abnormal. The point, of course, you have to recognize that this present administration came in at a point of dire economic downturn, and they needed to look at their books properly. Running embassies and appointing ambassadors, these are very capital-intensive, cash-intensive activities. Unfortunately, for many years, Nigerian embassies have tended to be run poorly. They've had financial profiles. They owe money for electricity, for all kinds of things. And I'm not sure that that problem has been solved yet. So before you throw in another batch of money-guzzling ambassadors, you need to look at what is there. How do you offset the debts that you are owing? How do you, for rents, for all kinds of things that Nigeria has not been paying systematically? So I think the economic factor has been overbearing in the non-appointment of ambassadors. But whereas you can afford not to have ambassadors in many places, it's unfortunate that you cannot afford to not to have ambassadors in some key capitals. You have to have in the United Nations. You have to have in places like the United States, the United Kingdom, places where the voices of power there matter. And you have to have in China, you have to have in Moscow, and so on. Those are areas that even if you are rationalizing economically, you have to look at the political consequences of such rationalization. Every decision is not about economics, or else nobody gets anything done. So you have to also look at the consequence. And the consequences of non-appointment we have seen very glaringly, and I might say very happily, because it will help us to reset our foreign policy. Because it is about access. If you want to get things done in the international system, you have to have access to those who make decisions. Not just appointing anybody who's going to get into a limousine, go to cocktails, and fly the flag. You need somebody who is effective, who is very good in administration, who is good in information management, who knows how to wield influence.
Very well
I think that
said.
From these 3 appointments, we can begin to look at such men and appoint many more of them into the ambassadorial positions.
Because certainly Nigeria needs to have its say and start discussions about trade security and debt relief on the foreign stage in order to push things forward. Once again, thank you so much, Professor Femi Otubanjo, for joining me this afternoon on Newsday.